few weeks ago, Greg showed you how to set up this tabletop.
And today, Dale and I are going to use this to play an introductory scenario that's available in the campaign guide called The Probe. It's the early afternoon of December 3rd, 1942, and the Russian 81st Cavalry Division, backed by T-34s of the 85th Tank Brigade, are in the middle of a probing attack on the outskirts of Kotelnikovo. This is the railway assembly point for the German relief attempt on Stalingrad, and on this particular afternoon, dismounted Soviet cavalry are within just a few kilometers of the village.
And that's where our scenario begins, in the middle of a dangerous Soviet attack.
Well, dangerous in part, Dale, because at this point on December 3rd, the tanks of the 6th Panzer Division have not yet fully disembarked from the rail station, so the Germans are desperately trying to keep the Soviet attack at bay to allow time for assembly.
In this learning scenario, the Russians have 2 understrength cavalry regiments and about 50 tanks of the 85th Tank Brigade. One stand represents a platoon of infantry or vehicles.
The Germans have a Panzer Grenadier battalion in defense, backed by artillery and some anti-tank guns. Near the end of what is an 8-turn scenario, 2 panzer companies, or about 30 tanks, rush into action.
Greg, I think the folks have come here to learn a new game, so let's get to it.
All right, the game that we're going to teach you today is called Fistful of T34s. It is a 4-page game that is based on a much longer game called Fistful of TOWS 3. But the free 4-page introductory version is a great way to get started with World War II wargaming. The game goes back and forth in a standard turn sequence. It looks like this. The attacker calls for artillery and, if available, resolves his barrages.
Next, the attacker moves all his units. We'll talk about how to do this in a moment, but movement is extremely easy and liberal.
If the defender has any overwatch units holding their fire, they can interrupt the attacker with shooting, but otherwise the turn will continue with the attacking side resolving their own fire.
To finish the attacker's half of the turn, he has to roll for any units who took hits and need to make a quality check. This is essentially a morale test phase, and it's all or nothing. Fail your quality check, and the platoon is removed from play.
Dale, the quality or experience of your units in this game is a very central part of the rules. It impacts every phase of the game, and we'll explain how in just a moment. But to complete a turn of the game, the same sequence that we just reviewed switches over to the defender, and that is a complete turn of Fistful of T34s.
Greg, I think we should walk through each phase in more detail to teach new players how this works. Starting with the artillery phase. Artillery can be off-board or on-board. In the Russian order of battle for this scenario, there are 2 off-table artillery supports, a 76mm gun battery, and some Katushka rockets, my favorite. I have to make an availability roll for each of them, and as you can see on the QRS, you need 4 or better on a 6-sided dice. Pretty simple and straightforward.
Whether Dale passes or fails these 2 rolls, he will still be able to try again in the next turn.
Alright, so assuming any of my 76mm guns are available, I can place a 2-inch template on any enemy unit that one of my units can see. I think I can hit all 3 of these German units, 2 infantry and a tank. I'll make 1 roll for each target to see the effect. Here I've rolled a 6 for the infantry in the open. That's an outright kill. They're immediately removed. Next, a 4 for this infantry. That's a quality check.
Quality checks from artillery barrages are immediate. They supersede the normal turn sequence. So I'm going to make the check for this infantry right away. I need a 3 or better because my troops are excellent. You're damn right they're excellent. I stay.
Finally, my artillery rolls a 5 to hit the tank. That's only a suppression. Suppression lasts a full turn, though, until my next artillery phase. Suppressed units can still move and fight, but with a penalty.
Okay, that's how we do artillery barrages. We didn't mention mortars. Mortars are a form of on-table artillery that are resolved in largely the same way, except they're always assumed to be available, so you never have to make that 4 or better availability roll. Also, they don't have a 2-inch blast template. They only hit a single designated enemy stand.
Next, I continue to movement. I can do this in any order I want to, and I can move everything. Movement rates differ depending on the type, but infantry is typically 4 inches, and the T-34 is pretty fast. It moves 9 inches a turn, and you can move 360 degrees however you like.
Well, hold on. Not exactly, Dale. There are some limitations. Rough ground, like the woods or the ravines, have your movement, and low-quality or poorly experienced troops, those who are rated as fair, have another little problem to worry about.
The quality ratings in Fistful of T-34s are fair, good, and excellent. Fair units have to pass a quality check, 5 or better on a 6-sided dice, to move out from cover. Because guess what? Poorly trained troops tend to prefer staying in cover. It's a nice and simple way to handle command friction and movement.
It's worth noting in your order of battle that each formation could have a different quality rating. So in this scenario, for the Russians, Dale's cavalry are rated as fair, but his tank brigade is good. Those are better troops. And being rated as good is going to help Dale in the next phase of the game, fire.
Any of my units that moved more than half can't fire. But over here, these units that didn't move, I'm going to be marking them with Overwatch. During the movement phase, if you don't move at all, you can place an Overwatch token. That would allow me to fire during Greg's part of the turn to interrupt his movement. Alright, so I'm going to fire some of my units who haven't moved or did less than half. And let's show 2 examples.
We can start here with infantry fire. Dale has a rifle stand and a heavy machine gun who are both within range. We'll put their stats on the screen for you now. The rifle platoon has a rate of fire of 2, which means Dale rolls 2 dice. All rolls are d6s in this game, by the way. Then, notice that he has 3 different ranges. 2 inches or less for close, 4 inches or less for effective range, and 6 or less for long.
Rolling to hit is simple. All rolls to hit are a 4+. That hit roll can go up or down based on a few modifiers. I'm fair, so no bonuses here. It's long range, so I'm at a -1. I'm not suppressed or using Overwatch. All I need is a 5 or better to hit. And look at that. 2 misses.
Next, Dale's heavy machine gun. The rate of fire here is a 3. His range is longer, so this time Dale will be within effective range. And finally, this last stat, anti-infantry, can give you a bonus or penalty when shooting at infantry or anti-tank guns. The Russian HMG platoon gives him a +1 bonus.
Start with a standard 4 or better target, but I'm +1 for my weapon type, and no other modifiers apply. That means I'm rolling 3 dice, looking for 3s or better. Look at that, 2 hits.
Alright, so every hit against an unarmored stand, like my infantry, causes a quality check marker to be placed. So I'm going to place 2 markers on my unit to represent your 2 hits, and then Dale's going to continue with the rest of his fire before we do any other resolution. It's possible that my troops here could end up with even more markers from other fire. Every time there's a hit, you just place a marker and you'll resolve it later. If I were in cover, I'd get a terrain save that I could attempt. But of course, this is the Russian steppe, and I'm not in any cover.
Let's continue with my T-34s. Let's show people a tank duel. The mechanics here are a bit more complicated.
Dale's T-34s are 9 inches away from my tanks. That's effective range for him. The firing process starts the same. Rate of fire is 2, so he rolls 2 shots, and he still needs that 4 or better to hit. But with modifiers, he gets a +1 for being rated good. Remember, these are his better quality troops. No other modifiers apply, so it's just 3 or better to score a hit on each shot. And let's just assume, for our example of play here, that you hit both, Dale.
Well, that's generous of you. Very sporting. Let's put the Panzer III stats on the screen to show people how this gets resolved. My gun penetration is a 6, and your front armor is only a 3. And that's a disparity of 3 between the penetration and armor.
Right, so the way that we're resolving hits versus infantry and armor is different. In this case, Dale, you're going to get 6 attempts to brew up my Panzer III. And here's what he needs. Anytime you're rolling against an armored target, a result of 6 is a brew up. 4 to 5 is a quality check, 1 to 3 would be no result at all. So, in the handful of 6 dice that Dale has, he's hoping to get at least 1 6, because a 6 would be an automatic kill.
Now, look at that. Not a single 6.
No, but Dale, you do have 3 quality check results. Unfortunately for you, unlike infantry, armor never stacks quality checks. Armored units are just more durable. So, no matter how many quality checks you roll to inflict on my Panzer III, I'm only going to have to ever test once per turn from fire.
If we assume in our demo that's the end of my shooting, we continue to the final phase of my turn, quality checks. And I believe you have some to take there, Greg.
Indeed I do. Let's start with my Panzer III. That's the one that you hit multiple times, but remember, armored units only ever take 1 test, regardless of the number of hits. So, I'm excellent, that's quality 3 or better. As long as I roll a 3 or better, I can remove that marker and function again as normal. 3 or better and we're good. 5, I'm good. I'm going to go ahead and remove the quality marker. The suppression is not going to come off until Dale's artillery, which is going to come up at the beginning of next turn. Next, let's move on to my infantry, where there are 2 quality check markers.
The infantry is a bit different. Infantry are impacted by multiple hits. Soft targets like trucks, AT guns, and infantry are more vulnerable.
That's right. So in this specific example, you've done 2 hits to this unit. You only ever make 1 quality check, so I'm going to roll 1 die. But because there's an excess hit here, my die roll is at a -1 penalty. My infantry is excellent, which means I would typically pass here on a 3 or better, but because of the penalty in our example, I need to roll a 4 or better.
And what if, for some crazy reason, I've done 6 hits to you that turn? 6 hits on a single infantry stand.
Well, I'd be rolling at a -5 penalty, but in this game, this is very important, Dale, a 6 always passes. 1s always fail and 6s always pass, regardless of modifiers. So, that means that you always have a reason to roll, no matter how dire the situation may be. If I fail the quality test, I remove the stand. It's that simple. If I pass, though, I get to clean off all the markers, and I'm good to go.
And that's a basic turn. Pretty simple. Greg goes through the same steps I just did. He'll call for artillery if he has artillery available. Next, he'll move all of his units, and then he can conduct his own shooting.
For the sake of this tutorial, let's just go right back to that last tank duel, because this is a pretty good example of a mismatch. Panzer IIIs are outgunned at long range, but I'm going to try to fight back.
Your penetration is just a 4, but you have a higher rate of fire. Because you moved up within 7 inches, you'll be at effective range.
All right, Dale, so in this shooting example, I'm going to start with 3 dice for my rate of fire of 3. I would normally need 4s or better to hit, but remember, I am excellent quality, which means I actually need 3s or better. That's a +1 for me, and I've got one other trick up my sleeve. Excellent quality troops also are always +1 rate of fire, so I'm going to add a 4th dice.
But wait, you're suppressed.
That's right. From artillery at the start of Dale's turn, I am still suppressed, which is a -1, so now I'm back to needing 4s or better to hit. Come on! All right, and I've hit you 3 times. But here's the rub. Penetration of 4 against your front armor of 5. I'm actually at a -1 if we compare those 2 values, so that means my 3 hits do not multiply like yours did. In fact, each of my 3 hits will be at a -1 penalty. So, if we look back again at the armor damage results, it's mathematically impossible for me to get an automatic brew-up. The best that I can do here, Dale, is try to get a modified result of 5. So I'm really hoping to force a quality check.
All right, I know what some people are thinking out there. How does a Panzer III take out a T-34?
Well, exactly like they did historically in 1942. I either have to get in close, or I've got to work around your flank. The T-34's flank and rear armor is a 4, which I absolutely could penetrate, or better yet, if I rush in to close range, I get a +2 penetration bonus. So now I could do some real damage to you. And this is exactly the problem that actual panzer commanders faced in this period of the war. They often had superior training and coordination, partly due to all having radios in their tanks, unlike the Soviets in 42, but the Panzer III was just not a great matchup against the T-34. German tactics were to rush in close and just try to light them up. There are some rules in the game that we didn't mention, like rules for smoke, for spotting hidden units, and for tank riders or mounting half-tracks in trucks. But frankly, the entire game is just 4 pages, so I think you'll be able to figure out those details by reading it. Download the free game and discover the nuances for yourself.
I've been surprised how much tactical depth you get from a 4-page rule game. You have to think like a World War II regimental commander to get the best out of your troops.
You really do. I am a big fan of the full, complete game, but you get quite a bit out of the free 4-pager, and I love that it still emphasizes the importance of quality and experience. An excellent formation versus a fair one is a world of difference. High-quality units can call artillery more accurately, they move more efficiently, and they fire faster and fire more effectively. Of course, when it comes time to test quality from taking fire, your good and excellent troops are just more likely to stick around and fight.
Another nuance we didn't even mention yet is that quality level has a cohesion distance. That means units of the formation must be within 2 inches, 4 inches, or 6 inches of another unit. So your low quality troops will be herded together while the better troops can string out on a wider front.
That's just another example of the little details that you get in this 4-page game. So go to littlewarstv.com, download your free copy.
Also free, the paper miniatures we're using today and the scenario we're playing.
And not just this scenario, we're giving you the entire Winter Storm campaign. All of it, 100% free to download right now. We can do awesome stuff like this because we're supported by an amazing community on Patreon. Some of our top patrons appear on the screen right now. We also want to thank Ty Beard and Paul Minson, the original authors of Fistful of TOWS 3. If you enjoy the free version, consider supporting them by purchasing their full game.
In the meantime, be sure to subscribe and stick around for the thrilling conclusion of our Winter Storm campaign. Will Ed stop the Germans from relieving Stalingrad? Or can the last throw of the dice carry 6th Panzer over the Mishkova River in time to reach Paulus?